to order. Before we do roll call tonight, I have to, you can see Councilman Vaccaro up there, and by state law, I need to say a few things and then get a vote of the council to allow him to participate remotely. So go ahead, Councilman.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so I wish to request that the city council allow me to participate in the city council meeting of July 16th, 2024, remotely due to a contagious illness that prevents me from attending the meeting in person. This request is to make pursuant to Government Code Section 54953 F2. I disclose that the following individuals 18 years old or older are not present. There are no present in the room 18 or older. So, yeah.
All right. So, colleagues, we have a request from Councilmember Vaccaro to participate remotely in this meeting pursuant to Government Code Section 54953 F2. Do I have a motion to approve this request? We have a motion and a second from the Vice Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. So the request by Councilmember Vaccaro to participate remotely is approved. Madam Clerk, under provisions of Section 54953 F2, please note the following. Councilman Vaccaro must appear on Zoom visually during this meeting so that he can be seen on the TV screen in the City Council chambers, except when a PowerPoint presentation is occurring. Councilman Vaccaro must not mute his audio at any time. Councilman Vaccaro must notify us if any person over the age of 18 years is present in the room with him at any time, and all votes tonight shall be by roll call. So, Madam Clerk, if you could go ahead and do roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Carr?
Here.
Councilmember Panduro?
Here.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Here.
Councilmember Williams?
Here.
Councilmember Vaccaro?
Here.
And Vice Mayor Bertani?
Here.
And Mayor Moy?
Here. And Councilman Thomas, go
Yeah, Mayor,
ahead, Councilman.
After the pledge, Vacaville first responders have had a pretty rough week. After the pledge, if we could have a moment of silence, would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Honor
And
the
today,
Vacaville first responders.
yeah, today we'll close in honor of both of them. As you probably know, the officer was a Fairfield guy. He was born and raised here and graduated from Rodriguez High. So we'll do that, and thank you, Councilman. And if you could lead us, Councilman, in the pledge, that would be great. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to reports. I think we'll start with Councilman Vaccaro up there. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. We have to do our invocation. Thank you. Nice reminder. And tonight our invocation is from Imam Fardabag. Here he is, Mirza. Is that how you say your name? I always get mixed up. You're from the Fairfield Muslim Center, and we welcome you, Imam.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Let's pray together. O our Lord, you are our creator and sustainer. All praise is due to you. You are most gracious and merciful. O our Lord, grant us proper knowledge, understanding, and ability to fulfill our responsibilities and complete our task. Grant us wisdom to make right decisions which can be fruitful for our community and better for our city. Remove all the hurdles and obstacles from our way. Guide us towards the straight path and protect us from doing anything wrong which is harmful or dangerous for us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Imam. It's good seeing you again and seeing you earlier today too, huh? Okay, now we'll go to council reports, and we'll start with Councilman Vaccaro.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for allowing me to participate tonight. This is unfortunate that I couldn't be there. But yeah, as Councilman Tonneson said, I know our hearts all go out to our neighboring city, Vacaville. 2 tragedies in 2 days, unbelievable. So I know we're all praying for that, for healing over there. The only other thing I wanted to say was we had another great 4th of July parade, as always. So it was always fun to participate. And I'm going to keep it short tonight, so that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And now we'll go to Councilwoman Williams, please.
Thank you. So I was out of town for the last 2 weeks and for family business, and missed one of my favorite events for the city of Fairfield, which is the 4th of July parade. So I absolutely was thinking about you all on 4th of July and missed you. But before that, I had 2 things that I wanted to report. Mayor Moy, you tagged me in to give the key of the city to St. Charles Thurman.
Yes.
And he was born in Fairfield, the founder of Solar Music Group for 33 years. And basically what he did was create a blueprint for independent record labels. And to be able to do that, learn more about Sir Charles, and to touch the city key for the first time. I've never seen it in person, and I had to wipe my fingerprints off of it because I was handling it too much. So that was pretty awesome. And the final thing I want to report out is I shadowed Assembly Member Lori Wilson a few weeks ago. So I spent a Monday with her, trying to keep up with her for a full day in Sacramento, and that was quite amazing to see what she does firsthand, to get a glimpse of what she does. And I will tell you, she works really, really hard for us. She keeps this schedule where, like, literally every 30 minutes we were doing something different. But to see her, from my vantage point, oversee, a legislative staff. And by the way, I think she authors the most bills of all the members in the state. That's what I heard. So she works not only hard for our district, but the state. And it was pretty interesting, too, because that day they found that they had lost a former staffer, Aldo Garcia. So to see them navigate that grief in their day and still work hard for us was pretty amazing. It was an amazing experience. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you very much for going and doing that. They really enjoyed having you there, and I told him, I said, I sent you the girl to do it. And he's also he helped with a lot of local rappers who started off very early and also got very popular too. So kind of a cool story. Councilman Tonneson.
Nothing for me to note here.
All right, thank you. Councilman Panduro.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to report, hi everyone. I attended the ARC. So ARC stands for Adult Recreation Center. It's just up the street, if you don't know. And they always have these amazing themed lunches. And last week it was country barbecue. So it was great barbecue. Councilman Tonneson stopped by at the end. And it's always really fun. I got to sit and talk and meet with some amazing senior residents we have in our town, and we got to share some stories, and he showed me some photos, and I've made a new friend. And so I will be looking out for him at the next luncheon. I'm just sad I missed, I think the dance club was going to do some line dancing, and I had to get back to work, so I missed it. But I'm sure they did a phenomenal job line dancing. Like, they always put on such great shows out there. So I want to thank Parks and Rec for always putting on really great events for the seniors in our community. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. It's always a great time when you're here in the chamber with us. It makes the meeting a lot more engaging and memorable. So thanks for taking the time to come out tonight. Councilman Vaccaro, I hope you feel better. And I'm glad to see your face. So hoping you feel better very, very soon. And the only other thing I wanted to say is to remind everyone that we are having our first annual fire and life safety event this Saturday, the 20th of the month. It'll be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Rolling Hills Elementary School in the gymnasium, and it may flow out into the amphitheater as well. And we will be discussing wildlife. You know, the fire season is upon us. And so we need to arm ourselves with as much information, knowledge, and resources as we have that are available to us to make sure that we keep our homes and families safe. So we'll be discussing wildfire defensible space, earthquake preparedness, how to protect life and property from fire and other natural disasters, smoke detectors. Everyone in here has their smoke detectors up and rolling with batteries in them, right? Right. Okay. Evacuation procedures, et cetera. So come on out. It will be, again, this Saturday the 20th from 11 to 1, Rolling Hills Elementary School. And this flyer with the information about the event will be on the back table if you'd like to take one with you. Madam Mayor, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Doug.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Again, I was part of the 4th of July parade, and I love that every year. It's my second year riding on the fire truck. It's a lot of fun. And there was quite a good crowd, even though it was very hot out. Thank you, everybody, that did show up. Also, I went to a back-to-school giveaway at Bay North Church on Pennsylvania. Pastor Sam, shout out to him. It was one of the biggest giveaways I've seen yet since I've been on council. Each person that came got a beautiful backpack full of school supplies and a $50 gift card, and there had to be 500 people there. And I know that they did get a large donation, so a shout out to the
My friends, California Forever.
Yeah,
Yes.
they made a major donation too.
Nice advertising there, sir.
But it was good, and it was a lot, and the kids and the people that showed up were very happy to get it. Wonderful food. And there are going to be more of the backpack and back-to-school giveaways, and I'm sure that they'll be going out onto our websites for the kiddies, grandkids, whatever that might need that. But that's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. And, yeah, the pastor always does it up well. I know, isn't that something? So I had a couple of things. First, many of you probably either got messages or read in the news that our Congressman John Garamendi has been diagnosed with cancer. And I spoke with him personally this last week. He actually was catching me up on some business that, we do together, obviously with Travis Air Force Base. And he was able to get some earmarks for us, which we'll discuss later. But talk about working hard for us. The man is working hard. As a cancer survivor myself, we spoke about that. He looks really good. He's going to beat this. And he is running for re-election. I know what that feels like because I ran for re-election when I was coming off cancer and all the treatment. So he just wanted to thank everybody in our community who've reached out for him or said prayers for him and asked to continue to pray for him. It's no joke. And as Councilman Tonneson said earlier, our friends in Vacaville had tragic news. They had their first police officer die in the line of duty. He was allegedly murdered, hit with a car purposely. according to the district attorney and investigators. And he grew up here in Fairfield. And so I asked that the flags here fly at half staff, and we did that. And then right after that, they lost another first responder out of the fire department. His name was Bryden Nadasti. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Nadasti. And he was killed in an accident as well. And I just wanted to say to our first responders, how awesome you are. Our people, went and covered, our police went covered and took care of the city of Vacaville along with some other agencies. Our dispatchers went up there and dispatched because, as you can imagine, it's overwhelming. It's also overwhelming for anybody, any of our officers, so or any of our first responders. We happened to be in a meeting with the city manager of Vacaville and the mayor when they got details of it, and it hit very hard. And so please keep Vacaville and all of our police and our first responders. It shows how dangerous it is out there. We take it for granted. I do sometimes, and I try not to. Try to pray for them every night. When we're asleep, they're not. And they're incredible human beings. And they literally do put their lives on the line. So I just want to remember them and remember our people always. And we never want to get that call. And I did speak with their city manager, their mayor, and also communicated with their police chief immediately. And they appreciate us very much. And I know our chief is very close with their chief. So we've been impacted here too. So thank you all for your prayers, and just thank you. And Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm very brief tonight. Just a reminder to you all and everybody in the community, on August 6th, we do not have a council meeting. It is the traditional cancellation of the council meeting for National Night Out, which is organized by our police department, attended by lots of city staff, fire departments out, and it's always a great time to connect with community. So looking forward to that on Tuesday, August 6th. And then the only other thing to announce for tonight is that item 18 on the agenda, we will be pulling that item at the request of the applicant. That is a public hearing, but we will renotice that public hearing when we have a date for that. So as of right now, no date, so we will pull that item. And that's my report tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Mr. City Attorney, any report?
Yes, thank you. I'm reporting out of a closed session item from May 21st, 2024, in the matter of James Velasco versus City of Fairfield, a Workers' Compensation Appeals Board matter. Excuse me. Case number ADJ 155-39998. The city reached a compromise and release with Mr. Velasco. The order and amount of settlement can be found on the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board website.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Not really a report, but it is election season, and so I have already met with 4 candidates this week. We have 3 council seats open, districts 2, 4, and 6, and my position, city clerk, and also the city treasurer. So if you are interested in running, please contact me soon. You do have to file by August 9th. So that's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. So now we'll go ahead and turn to presentations.
Yes, 4th of July Parade Awards presented by Parks and Recreation Program Coordinator Juan Segura.
Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hello, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, City Manager. My name is Juan Segura, and I am the Program Coordinator with the Parks and Recreation Department and the Director of this year's Independence Day Parade. It is my honor today to present the plaques to the category winners. But first, I would like to take a minute to thank all the city departments, especially police, fire, and public works department. Thank you for your hard work. We had a very successful parade this year. It was definitely a hot one. We had over 56 entries, a total of over 1,000 people, around 140 vehicles that participated in the parade. It was nice to see all of you, and thank you for your kind words about the parade. We enjoyed the parade. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. The theme for this year's parade was An American Journey, and on to the awards. Each category received a $150 award. Our best theme category in sweepstakes, which is the highest score received, gets a $250 award. And the winners are, first we had our band returning to the parade. Our band category winner is Fairfield High School Bagpipes.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay, congratulations.
Our next award goes to the commercial category, and that is Bright Care Homes. Our float category goes to Guru Nanak Sikh Temple.
Yay.
Our military category goes to Simmons Sheldon Veterans of Foreign Wars.
You're in it too.
Congratulations, you guys. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Our next category was the novelty, and it goes to Solano Constitution Group. Our vehicle category goes to Chicano Visions.
Congratulations. Yay. Oh, oh, oh.
Our walk-in category went to Summit Church VBS.
Guess I should just stay over here. Instead of limping all over the place. Thank you.
Go, Karen, go. Congratulations.
Our best theme this year went to Chapkiz Dance.
Yay.
And our sweepstakes went to, with the most points also, and our question winner, Rancho El Centenario.
Yeah. At the hitching post. Congratulations.
Thank you all. We look forward to seeing you all at Tomato and Vine Festival, August 17 and 18. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
And our second presentation this evening is Touchstone Golf Operations Update, presented by Mark Luthman, President of Touchstone Golf. Thank you.
I am. It was fun, wasn't it?
I did. Nice to see you.
It is a little pricey. It's a fundraiser, so. Yeah.
Max height. Thanks, David. Good evening, Mayor Moy, Vice Mayor Bertani, council people. Before I get started, I saw Chief Marshall earlier. I really wanted to offer my condolences for the loss of their brethren in Vacaville. It's a heartbreaking story to hear, and his first responders are so important for every community, and so my hats off to everybody here in Fairfield as well. I wanted to get started with, we are here, I can't believe how fast it's gone by. The first 6 months of our operations of the golf courses are now behind us, and I wanted to take an opportunity to give all of you an update on how the first 6 months have gone, what our priorities have been, and what is upcoming here for the golf courses. I'm joined by my colleagues and friends, James Birchall, our Vice President of Operations in Northern California, and Jake Stewart, our General Manager at Rancho Solano and Paradise Valley. So it's a pleasure to be here. A few of the items that we'll discuss is our transition efforts over these first 6 months. We'll talk about our marketing efforts and the events that we have held so far at the course and the events that are coming in the future, and then overview of the financial performance, and we have some time for some questions at the end of the presentation. So we started out, the key focus area, certainly for the first 6 months, have been transitioning the staff members at the golf courses. Currently, we have 152 that are working at the golf courses in both the golf and the food and beverage departments. While 47 folks have departed the facilities for a variety of reasons since the transitions, we've brought on 84 new hires. So that's just a little bit less than one new hire that we've brought on every other day since we've started there, and involved with that is the onboarding and the training and the support of these new folks we've brought onto the team, which includes 6 new members of our leadership, department head staff, and 2 folks that we've promoted to take on larger roles that were already working at the golf courses in the marketing department. So onboarding, training, setting the expectations, and getting all of those folks accustomed to what our standards are. In addition, we have a fairly robust checklist of 150 transition-related items that we have effectively worked through. These are our internal checklist of accounting, human resources, golf course maintenance, and other facility improvements that have been a priority over these 6 months. Implementing our national account and vendor program. These are our Touchstone Golf national accounts, which result in preferred pricing and also rebates for the facility to improve the financial performance, as well as transitioning the liquor license. Touchstone Golf is now the holder of the liquor licenses at both golf courses from SRI. Now, when we got started, we saw an opportunity immediately at the beginning
to improve the appearance and the cleanliness of the restaurant. So we started with real deep cleaning of the front of the house and the back of the house kitchens. Both needed a deep cleaning as well as painting and overall lighting improvements and improving the appearances of both restaurants. Implementing our new point of sale system. Actually, it's expanding the point of sale system that was in the golf department to include the food and beverage department, so they're all operating under one point of sale, and the training and support for our staff that goes along with that. What we found in the kitchens of both golf courses is quite a bit of equipment that was either not operational or operating at a less than efficient level, which required significant amount of repair. So since we've been there, we've unfortunately had to spend $72,000 repairing the existing kitchen equipment to allow for it to operate properly, and then therefore allow for us to improve and upgrade the menus, which we've done over the last few months. IT and technology upgrades, our website, the Wi-Fi and network throughout both facilities. As it relates to the marketing transitions, with the departure of SRI and their Legends brand, it's brought up the notion of rebranding both golf courses. We started this effort prior to our transition, first talking to city staff and the Golf Advisory Board. Subsequently, from that came the notion of establishing subcommittees at both Rancho Solano and Paradise Valley to be a part of the rebranding process, as well as the redesign and the creation of a plan to improve both restaurants. So we started that process, and out of that came the brands, the Top Knot Tap Room for Paradise Valley and the Bella Verde Bistro for Rancho Solano. So we've activated those brands at both courses and now have new menus in place to support that, and our staff has been trained and continuing to be trained on the execution of everything that goes into operating those restaurants in the new brand, as well as with those subcommittees creating our plan for improving the restaurant. So we've worked with the architect that we've brought aboard, taken in community feedback to arrive at plans for both restaurants, and right now we're working on the kitchen plans, the engineering, and the equipment of what needs to be done to improve the kitchens. Ultimately, we hopefully in the next 2 months will have our plans finalized and to a point that we can take them out to contractors to get quotes on bids, how much it's actually going to cost to complete these improvements. Our 2024 event calendar, we have implemented that at both facilities and planned and hosted numerous food and beverage events. James is going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute, that have already taken place or will be taking place in the coming months. So with that, I'll turn it over to James.
Thank you, Mark, and good evening, council members. I'm very excited to be up here to present some of the events that we have put on at the two golf courses. And what we also committed to was partnering with the local wineries from Suisun Valley. And these 3 events that we either hosted or are coming up were the partnerships with those. We started off in February, right when we began with a Valentine's Day dinner with Tolinas Winery. We just finished our Camus wine dinner in June, which sold out and had raving reviews. I heard the ravioli was to die for. Our chef, Paulina, really did a great job with that. And we're excited about partnering with Wood and Valley coming up on July 25th. And if anyone's interested, I recommend going to the Fairfield Golf website and signing up immediately, because it will sell out. We also hosted a number of other events, starting with Easter Brunch, where we had 200 participants, grew Mother's Day Brunch to over 300. We partnered with the Park and Recs Department for the Stride and Ride event when we closed the golf course for aerification that allows people to come out and walk the golf course. And we also did a couple fun events at Paradise Valley with Moonshine Day, a Father's Day barbecue, and we also hosted a tournament for our loyalty members. Some more events that we're putting on. Tonight is our first cornhole event, which is a 4-month series, and so that's going on right now, which also sold out for our first time hosting. Hopefully you want to sign up for that next month. You don't have to participate each time. There's prizes, beverages, and a lot of activities to go along with it. We're hosting our city championship, which brings golfers from all around Northern California to participate on August 3rd and 4th. There's a golf tournament at each course, and that's an NCGA, a Northern California Golf Association points tournament that's up and coming. And then the third annual Family Cup Day is a 9-hole to bring children and adults playing together for 9 holes of golf with food and popular games and things to go along, as well as hosting our junior golf clinics throughout the summer. This is a list of the events that we have planned for the next quarter all the way to October. Again, I advise you to go to our website, fairfieldgolf.com, and check out the calendar of events as we keep adding more and more events. But we're really excited about some of the food and events like the pizza party we have coming up. We have a Caribbean-themed Labor Day Beach Bash at Paradise Valley, as well as some live music events. So we're really excited about our calendar of events and bringing golf and non-golfers to the golf course. And finally, just to give a very high-level financial overview of our first 6 months of operations. This includes both golf courses from January to June. Total revenue reached $5 million, and we hit our target of EBITDA, which is our net earnings, of $668,000, ahead of target by $47,000. In food and beverage, we did over $1.8 million of revenue in the first 6 months, which was a very busy schedule for banquets. Didn't quite hit our target for net operations, but as Mark alluded to earlier, some of the equipment upgrades and repairs that needed to be done impacted our net earnings in that department. But we look to the future to be out of that repair business. And with that, I just wanted to open up to any questions for council members.
Council, do you have any comments or questions? Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you for coming back 6 months later, as you promised. 47 staff members departed. That is a huge exit rate. Were you able to do exit interviews? Do you know why? Why did people leave like that?
A little bit of yes, we did talk to folks. Some were looking for other opportunities. Some were quick turnarounds. It wasn't all from existing coworkers. It was just getting used to our operations. And so we were able to speak with most of them. Sorry.
So
There was a number of staff members as part of our standard onboarding process. There was a number of staff members that were deemed non-confirmations as we went through our E-Verify process. So that led to quite a few of the departures early on.
okay, so they didn't follow through on the full process to be
Well, there's an E-Verify process that they go through, and that when they're deemed a non-confirmation, they have to go through a process of providing proof that they're able to pass the E-Verify, and they were unable to.
Okay, so you're saying there was nothing that seemed like there's something going on with your operations that's so different and so shocking that people didn't want to leave?
No.
People left, okay.
I do believe that there was a number of folks that did not like the standards that we were holding them to. So higher standards than they were held to in the past. And so either they selected out or we asked them to depart.
Okay, and then final question, as a non-golfer that's interested in food, on your website, fairfieldgolf.com, I just went a minute ago, and your 2 links for Dine at Paradise Valley and Dine at Rancho, they're not working. So anyway, something for you to fix.
Thank you for that. That's surprising to hear that, because I know we've tested them at length, so I'm not sure why they're not coming up right now.
Councilman Tonneson.
Yeah, thank you guys for your presentation. I know we had numerous talks prior to you coming. It was pretty heated discussions early on, but you guys came through. Took a little longer than we had thought. I think as you look back, 3 months was probably a little bit aggressive. But I'm glad to see that you guys are doing good. We're getting good reviews. Sometimes you're always going to get those folks that are, either never satisfied or they get frustrated. But it seems like you are addressing the real issues that come your way. The 152 employees, does that count volunteers?
No.
How many volunteers do you have?
I'm not sure. Jake, how many? 50.
Yeah, I mean, keep it up. From what I hear, like I said, it was rough in the beginning, but you guys have come along and you've answered all the questions, and I appreciate your, accessibility. Thank you.
Certainly.
Councilman Panduro, anything?
Thank you for the presentation. I'll start with saying that I appreciate all the events. I have been there, and I appreciate that the downstairs at the clubhouse is no longer so dark. It's bright, and I know there's more changes coming, so it's good to hear. And I appreciate the support of our local wineries as well. I just want to make sure that both of those places, Rancho and Paradise, are both good places to work. It's been brought to my attention. There's been some internal things going on, and I just want to make sure that the employees there feel heard and they feel appreciated, and that they're being listened to, because they are the ones that are there day in and day out, and they're the ones that hear the residents, whether it's a complaint or a concern. And so I just want to make sure that no matter, that the employees, if they have an issue, that it does get, taken into consideration, and that there is solutions around those issues. But again, thank you so much. It's looking good. So thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, anything?
Yes. Thank you again for coming. Thank you for the report. Thank you for the information and all the hard work you've put in up to today to fulfill the promises and obligations that you have with the city and that you led us to believe you would do. I appreciate you making that effort. I do, however, have concerns, and not personally me, but I am hearing from residents about particularly the non-golfing experience. In other words, in the restaurants, wait times, and particularly posted hours of operation that are not adhered to. I had one resident email me saying, he waited in line and waited and waited and waited, and finally got up to the counter at 7 o'clock, and they said it's closed. But the hours were posted as closing at 8. So I'm saying that in an effort to continue building your brand in the community and reaching out to the community and inviting folks in who are non-golfers. I'm not going to say I'm a non-golfer, but I've had lessons. But anyway, looking to really maximizing the capacity that you have to engage folks at the restaurant who just want to come and have a meal and with their kids. That concerned me. I mean, if your hours are posted as one thing and you got a guy in line waiting and he's at the counter an hour before the posted close date and they didn't serve him. And I've heard other concerns about, not so much the golfing experience, but the restaurant experience. And so I don't know if you've done anything. I'm sure you've heard of these concerns, and I'm wondering what it is you've done to address concerns like that about the continuity of service between each of the golf courses and really engaging, the non-golfers to come in and eat at your restaurants.
That's a great question. I'm so glad that you asked It's a great question. I'm so glad that you asked it, Vice Mayor. I think that there is a lot of moving parts that go with starting these two restaurants from scratch, starting with the cleaning and improving the appearance, the rebranding, the new menus, the bringing all new staff on. And we've hired a lot of terrific folks. And we're actively training these folks and setting the expectations. And a lot of folks do very well with the new expectations. There's some that need continued training, and we are actively working through that with all of them. We share the same goal. It's not like we think, boy, it's great to have inconsistent hours of operations. I know I heard a story that we closed the restaurant last week when it was so hot one night early because our air conditioner went out. But we didn't put a sign on the door to say we're closing the restaurant early because the air conditioner's out. We just closed. So when somebody comes to the door and they see that, they go, oh, these hours of operation, they just closed and they didn't do it. We didn't do a good enough job explaining that. So I think at the same time that there are mistakes like that have been made, there's also like so many awesome successes that the team is doing right now with the implementation of these new menus and the positive vibes that are going with that. I also think that there is a lot of the feedback that we receive is, I'll say, some of it, like the story that I just shared, is from last week. So that's like super recent. And then some of the feedback that we receive is like, this is what was happening with the restaurants 3 months ago. And then it all comes to the fore at one time. And so we are focused on improving every day, making sure that we meet our commitments with service. And I think folks are experiencing that now. So hopefully that answers your question. It doesn't look like it does.
No, it does, and thank you for that. It's a very thoughtful answer. And so you're saying that it's a matter of, upping the training process of these employees as they come on board to your staff, so that everybody knows the protocol for what happens when the air conditioner breaks down on a 108-degree weather day, or what happens when whatever happens. I mean, I'm asking, like, is there a protocol that you have that you're training your employees with to ensure continuity of service at both golf courses?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. And then one of the things, so thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to, or maybe you have already reached out into the residential community, opening up Paradise and Rancho to the families, that live in those areas, and even people like me who don't live in those areas, but I will drive to Rancho for, a burger and fries if it's good enough. So like, describe like your activities in reaching out to residents, saying, we have open arms at the restaurant, come join us.
Sure. Well, I think that the events that we have planned are right along those lines. So James detailed those, and I could pull up the slide again. And so we're promoting those events via our email marketing efforts, our social media efforts, the signage at the golf course. That is how we're communicating what's going on. The events have been well attended. So I can tell you we're absolutely reaching out to those folks. I think as it relates to involving the community and getting the community excited, I detailed during our presentation the efforts that we have made to involve the community on the rebranding and the design of the restaurants. That's the kind of foundational effort, so everybody has ownership of what's going on, taking in all the feedback. We had sessions that myself and James and Jake all participated in, they were identical sessions, multiple sessions for both golf courses and both subcommittees. It was a subcommittee for Rancho and a subcommittee for Paradise that was all geared toward the rebranding and the design. And then the menus that we've created are very accessible for families. So, and we're seeing a lot of families at the restaurants. And we're about, I would say, a month and a half ahead at Paradise compared to Rancho with the new menus and implementing that. But to give you an idea, Vice Mayor, we had, when we rolled out the new menus, we had menu tastings where we invited folks from the community to come participate in and have those, and a lot of positive feedback. And actually, from the one at Rancho Solano, we booked 2 private event catering events from the folks that participate in that menu tasting. So for me, that illustrates to me that our efforts to reach out to the community to get people excited also is a positive step, not only for the community, but for the business.
Thank you.
Thank you for the response.
Councilman Doug, anything?
Not at this time. I was just a little disappointed I didn't get a personal menu to trying out the menu stuff, but other than that, no, nothing at this time.
And Councilman Vaccaro.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Mark and James, for the presentation. You know, in the beginning, I know it was rough, and you guys probably heard from me also. But you know, I go up there probably once a week to Rancho to eat, you know, with my grandkids' family, and I have to say the last, I'd say, month or two, I've seen a positive change. I mean, the service has been great. The new menu I like. And just to follow up on what Vice Mayor Bertani said, I mean, James, I think you and I had that discussion the other day about, you know, getting the families involved, because it's great having, you know, the Golf Advisory Board involved and other people that are close. But as far as the families and the generations of families in both communities, it would be great to see them, you know, more involved and get more information about what's going on. But overall, I see a big improvement over the last couple of months. So that's all I have to say, Mayor. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilman. And I'm just going to let you off the hook because you've been grilled, except for I have to concur with Councilman Doug about the tastings. I mean, hello, okay, you know.
We should have invited all of you to participate in the tastings.
Yes, it was a big mistake, but we're going to let you pass this time, all right?
My apologies. Thank you all very much. Get well soon, Councilman Vaccaro.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And thanks for the presentation and being here.
And our next presentation, Supreme Court ruling regarding Grants Pass, Oregon, presented by Police Chief Dan Marshall.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and community. I'm Dan Marshall, Chief of Police, and I'll be talking about our camping ordinance enforcement and the Supreme Court decision for Grants Pass. So I'm going to start with a little bit of history, and I feel like we need to go back in time a little bit because I feel like we're going back in time a lot. The difference this time is we're much more prepared than we were 14 or 10 years ago. When we started the HIT team in 2014, it was 2 officers that really didn't know what they were doing in this vulnerable group. And since that time, we've had a lot of training with mental health. We actually have resource guides put together through Homeless Services Division now. We had a lot of programs. We have a lot more beds available, but we're definitely going a little bit back in time. So back in 2014, we were enforcing our current camping ordinance as it sits. At the same time we were doing that, it was a 2-pronged approach. We were connecting the unhoused into housing and different programs. as we were also enforcing the camping ordinance. The storage of valuables is something we were doing back then as well. We would hold things for 90 days, and then at that point, it'd be for safekeeping, and then we'd release it. In 2018, we had the Ninth Circuit Boise decision, and that case created a need for extra shelter space to enforce camping ordinances, and also a reasonable amount of time. And so it was ruled cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment at that time. And we were forced to do things much different. And so you would see more tents, more camping paraphernalia, kind of sitting around than you would in times previous, and it would be taking longer to get it removed. So recently, this year in 2024, the Grants Pass Supreme Court decision came through, and they said, no, it is not cruel and unusual, and they gave us back the ability to enforce our camping ordinances as they said. So our current code is under 12.800 as far as the purpose, but definitions, and I know it's a lot of letters up there, and I apologize, but I wanted to make sure the ordinance was on the screen. But I wanted to touch base a little bit on camp. If you see, it means to pitch, maintain, or occupy camp facilities. It does not necessarily mean someone sitting on the ground in a park or laying on a blanket. It's very specific to setting up some type of living conditions. And going down to store, a lot of times I feel what draws attention to the unhoused is not necessarily the people, but the property or the storage. And so they aren't allowed to store or accumulate things on the streets or any place as such as that either. So that is another section we'll be addressing. And then public property, all property including but not limited to streets, sidewalks, alleys, parks, plazas, waterways, parking lots, and improved or unapproved lands. So I wanted to make that very specific. As far as the laws that are enforceable, the municipal code, it's 12.802. It's the unlawful camping. It's pretty simple. Any public property, and then private property as well, but there's some exceptions. If you have kids and you want to pitch a tent and have a camping experience in your yard, then obviously there's exceptions. If we were to do some big city thing downtown, we could have exceptions by permit. So, and then 12.803 is the storage section, personal property stored for safekeeping. And it goes into any public property or any private property without the consent of the owner. And so both of these are, the authority that we have to do it is under 12.804. The first violation will be an infraction punishable by a fine not exceeding $100. And the second and subsequent in the year could be arrests, it could be additional citations. So next steps for us, we know that there's a desire to quickly get into the business of enforcing this camping ordinance. But I think out of being fair to our community, and especially the unhoused community, who a lot of them have mental health illness and other issues, we're going to do a 60-day period of warning violations. We'll still be enforcing the rule itself, but they won't necessarily be cited or arrested based on that. We want to still enforce, but we also want to get the word out there that it is no longer allowed. You're no longer allowed to camp, period, in the city of Fairfield. And I put in here, someone asked, do you mean to be redundant? And yes, I did. We are going to continue to offer services to the unhoused, whether we're doing the warnings, whether we're at a point of citations or arrests. We still want to offer services. Our goal is to get them into long-term placement. That's why we spend money on other programs, and that's why we have beds available. So our goal is to fill them, not fill necessarily the jail beds. So a change of protocol with the HEART team as well. There's not going to be 72-hour notices anymore. So they're going to be much busier and much faster. And we're still going to hold the valuables for 90 days. So what I asked for is, I'll skip down to patience. Please be patient. We have 2 hit officers, and this is where we're going back to the future again a little bit, like we started with, and we have 4 HEART team members, and they're working very hard. They have been working very hard, even when we had 6 or 7, 8 hit team members at one time, but we can only keep up with what we can keep up with. Patrol response and expectations, they are very clear on, they're also supposed to be going out and addressing these tents and different things. The challenge is going to be the weekends and the nights. We don't have heart. And so things that get addressed on a Friday, we have a plan with dispatch on how we will log those tents and the location. And then we will get that back out to Hart on Monday, and they can start working their way from that day. And then as calls for service, there needs to be a violation present. This is always a challenge for us, is sometimes we'll get, hey, there's a homeless person in my neighborhood, they're laying in the park, they shouldn't be there. Well, why shouldn't they be there? It's a public park, it's daytime. And so we get into some of that, and we need to be cautious of bias. The state of California has made it very clear for police officers that bias for unhoused is the equivalence of bias for race, sexual orientation, age, any other type of discriminations. And so we need to be very cautious on the fact that we have a violation present. Can we do a welfare check? Absolutely. But we also don't want to put our officers in a compromised situation where they have to do something that they may have not had to because there was no criminal act prior to. So that's about as simple as I can make it. Hopefully that helps. And if you guys have any questions, please shoot away.
Council, questions? Councilman Tonneson.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I know this isn't going to happen overnight, but certainly in my district is, as you know, takes up much of the downtown, all of the downtown. Realistically, so where are, if you arrest, if somebody's breaking the law, they're loitering or they're littering or they're breaking glass or they're just being a pain downtown, and you arrest them, you put their stuff in 90-day storage. How often do they come and pick that up? Because they're out within 2 days, or 2 hours. I don't know what the number is. How many of them come right back and pick up their stuff and go back out to do the same thing again?
Some do. Well, a lot of the stuff, we don't keep everything. We keep what's valuable. So
I know.
if it's soiled and if it's broken, there are things like that, we'll photograph it. They have their cameras on, so we don't keep everything. And so the things that we do keep, sometimes it's right away, but it's generally not a ton of stuff.
And what do they have to do to pick that up? Do they have to produce an ID?
Oh, I'm not sure on that, honestly, with the HIT team. So, to be honest, I don't have an answer for you. Because some of them don't have ID. Most of the homeless don't have ID.
And then, this opens up zero tolerance, and I know zero tolerance isn't an option. We just don't have that many beds. But when we have enough to do these enforcements, how can we? What is your plan there? If you don't have any more 72-hour notices, so what's the plan with all of the folks that you're going to end up citing?
Well, we're all working right now with Krishna, the DA, to see how much she's going to do
right
on
back to the
prosecution, because obviously with the law change by the Supreme Court, we're all going to be doing the same thing. And we just had a chiefs meeting last week and discussed this topic, and all of us are on the same page of enforcing our camping ordinances. So obviously the courts are going to be more inundated but at the end of the day, they're still low-level misdemeanors, and that's part of the challenge too, and it will come back to where the judges decide to do.
And what does a warning look like? If they've been trespassed from one of the downtown businesses, do they get warned for that first?
Well, you're talking two different sections. You're talking about the section that's downtown where they can't sleep in front of the business. Right. That's completely different. So this is just everywhere in the city. That will regulate just someone hanging out even in front of. That doesn't even have to count. They don't have to be camping in front of the downtown businesses to.
Okay, that's the doorway.
Correct. So that's a whole separate section.
Okay, I'll let others speak, but I may have some more questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else? Yeah, Councilwoman Panduro.
Thank you. I just had a quick question. Being that this, I think our community is very aware that this is now happening, and I know there's certain areas in town that the encampment is more prevalent than in others. What is the best way for them to report or to let us know or let you all know? Because I know we get emails, but if there's a better, more direct way to report them through the app or the Fairfield app?
I always think it's still best to call the police department, because even the app, not all patrol officers have access to check the app. So if it's on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday, it could be just sitting there with no one knowing. And so I think just call 428-7300 extension 8, goes right into dispatch, and that way we can get notified, and then we can track it a little bit easier too, because if we're just waiting on the hit team to do that on Monday or Tuesday, that could be a lot longer a process. But the app still is an obvious way that people can do it as well.
Councilman Vaccaro, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thanks for the report, Dan. I totally understand the patience, and, we do have to, deal with this in a very caring way. But I am glad that the decision was made from the courts. It does give us, obviously more teeth, but I like what you put in the PowerPoint. Absolutely. So thank you.
And Madam Vice Mayor, anything?
Just thank you for the report. That 90-day holding period, is that required by the grants pass decision, or is that a discretionary, must we hold for the property for 90 days?
We have to hold their property for safekeeping, but we have storage separate. That's not in our normal evidence, because it's simply a safekeeping storage. And as you can imagine, a lot of it's, even though we don't get rid of soiled stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff when it's been out, and depending on the circumstances, can be pretty bad.
So the 90-day period is discretionary, or is it required by the ruling?
It's not by the ruling, but it is required for us to hold it.
Under California law or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Good report.
Chief, first of all, thank you for the report. And I think that the approach that you've laid out here is good. And I wanted to make a comment about the first hit team that we ever had. There were 2 fine officers there. You were one of them. And maybe you didn't know what you were doing as far as dealing with the folks you were dealing with, but I think you kind of did. And you guys got it started well. As far as the prosecutions, we obviously are not interested in putting people in jail. However, and I've always made this point, the people out there that our officers and that our residents come into contact with daily are violating the civil rights. These homeless people who are mentally ill and other things are violating civil rights of other people. And I know that there's no rules that you guys, well, in general, the Constitution says you have to protect everybody's civil rights. But for instance, at Holy Spirit, I think you may know about this, a homeless woman went in there and went to the altar and committed blasphemy. Went up there and she spread herself out and she ate there. And then after she was done, she took gasoline and doused the altar. And if anybody knows about Catholicism and the altar is sacred, and it has sacred things there. It was a pure violation of people's First Amendment rights. And I don't know, did you guys catch that woman?
I am not sure.
But I know about it because I heard from a Daily Republic reporter about it, and they decided not to write about it. But I know about a lot of people who've had their civil rights violated by people out there, which is why we decided to have a zero tolerance. And we don't have to have beds for everybody that we tell to move on. Do we want beds in a place for all? Yes, that would be nice. But most of them don't want it. We know this. Our HIT team knows this from over and over and over again, and it may take 100 times before somebody says, yeah, sure. So, we did vote at one time to make it zero tolerance. And I think what we're saying is, instead of using that language, we're saying that we want everybody to abide by the law, and you guys do too. And do we want to have compassion for them? Absolutely, compassion for everybody, including the residents who have fear, business owners who have to clean up poop in the morning. It goes on and on. You know all about this. So what we want is the law to be followed, and we know that's what you guys do.
Yeah, and I think with this idea, our goal is not to put them in jail. Our
Right.
goal is to, use it a two-pronged approach and make it uncomfortable or get into services, right?
Yeah.
And so in the past, we would use the same style, and it would help get a lot of people off the streets and into services. It's just sometimes that extra push to actually commit to doing it. The 72 hours gives, that's a good weekend of camping, right? So
Yeah.
this stops some of that versus, and just gives us a little bit more push to get them into services.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the courts are at all interested in, I know we have the mental health courts and the drug courts, a pathway to get help for some of these people who are arrested, moving them into those things. I think it's something that we should talk about, and I'm glad that you guys are all talking to the DA, because even though it's a misdemeanor, as you guys know, misdemeanors cause people heartache as well.
Correct.
Yeah, so even though it's not, necessarily a violent crime, although there's plenty of that too from them, people in Fairfield and everywhere deserve for us to be safe. And we know that's what you're doing.
Yes, and if
I
they
appreciate
violate
you.
other crimes, that's completely different.
Sure.
This is just the campiness specifically.
Right. But thank you so much for this, and again, I wanted to thank you for everything that you did with our neighbors in Vacaville, with all that going down and still going down. Thank you. And was there something else?
One quick
Are you
question.
okay, Councilman Tonneson? Councilman Dodd?
Prop 1, do you, just putting it out there, that they're still putting a lot of that together, but have you heard anything yet on some of the conceptions that Prop 1 money-wise, facilities for the mental health? Have you heard anything coming on that yet? No. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Anything? All right, thank you.
All right. So now we're going to go ahead and go towards public comments.
Yes, persons wishing to address the city council on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. The council cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but council members may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public, ask for clarification from staff, refer the matter to staff, request staff to report back to the council at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. To speak on an agenda item, if you're online, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item. And our first speaker is Dr. Mark Carmody.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your time. I applaud, I don't know who spearheaded it, but between the city council, fire, police. It was well publicized on the TV channels that Fairfield, I'm not sure about Solano County, but Fairfield banned all fireworks, legal and illegal. I applaud you for that. I applaud you. Yes, there's a but coming. But I've never, and this can be corroborated, I've never heard so many fireworks in all my life as it was on a hot 4th of July with the wind blowing, and I worry about people's homes on fire. It happened in Sacramento. And again, I'm not knocking anybody. You all are awesome, awesome, awesome. I don't have an answer. I'm just reporting that it got worse this year. So that's all I have to say on that matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Ryan Misano.
Esteemed listeners and honored citizens, I'm Ryan Misano of the website misanonews.com. The American people have been lied to for over a century, and you're about to hear a few of the lies corrected. What you're about to hear is the truth that has been ruthlessly suppressed. There are millions of us banned on Facebook, Twitter, and censored in newspapers. If Jesus were walking the earth today, he'd be called an anti-Semite, a racist, a bigot, a sexist, and a Nazi, because these are the terms that are viciously aimed at anyone who criticizes Jewish wrongdoing. When newspapers, television, radio, social media, schools, libraries, and the big corporations are all controlled by a small group, is it any wonder why so many Americans are badly deceived about what's going on? And all politics is local. No city in America should be on Facebook or Twitter, which both censor the truth to try to brainwash Americans. Why is Fairfield on Facebook and Twitter? You cannot fight an enemy you can't see or talk about. And if you aren't allowed to criticize any group, no matter what they scream and yell, that group controls you. Free speech allows all criticism of all groups. There are no exceptions for hate speech. If people don't like what they hear, they can cover their ears, but unless it's the prohibited ideas of profanity, racial slurs, pornography, or a few other ideas, free speech protects all ideas. Also, let's be clear, when we discuss Talmudic Jews, we aren't talking about the Jews of the Old Testament and Moses. The Talmud legalizes murder, lying, cheating, stealing, child molestation, homosexuality, transgenderism, rape, and usury. 90% of today's Jews are Ashkenazis, not directly related to the original 12 tribes, and they obey the Talmud. Let us not forget we just experienced the largest death machine in world history as far as lethality is concerned. 100 million dead in 100 years under communism. Have we had 10 communists in Russia and China punished for these murders? No, we have not. 99% of Americans can't name 10 Russian or Chinese communists responsible. Is it possible that communism in Russia and China was funded by Jewish bankers out of New York City? Which city on earth has the largest population of Jews? New York City has 4 million. And that's the headquarters of the United States Federal Reserve, which isn't federal at all. It's owned by private Jewish citizens who steal from all of us with the income tax. Ryan, how come I have never heard of this in the newspaper, television, radio, or social media is a question some are doubtless asking. Well, doesn't it make sense that if you control the money, you'll buy up all the media? Facebook, started by Jew Mark Zuckerberg. Google, started by Jews Larry Page and Sergey Brin. New York Times, owned by Jewish Sulzberger family for 150 years. Wikipedia, started by Jews Larry Sanger and Jimmy Wales. 3 men telling the truth in all 19,500 American cities will fix the problem. And truth sounds like hate to those who hate truth. I appreciate your ability to listen, because there have been numerous municipalities who have not been able to listen. We have been assaulted by Antifa thugs. We have had bogus lawsuits filed against us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Guy Stevenson.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, I'm here for a reason. And the reason is I work at the medical examiner's office in Northern California. I understand that your fire department, your police carry Narcan. But my biggest concern is your public works, your parks, people that deal with the public all the time. We've had over 650 people come through our ME's office from fentanyl poisoning. I wanted to try to stop. We have to get a grip, because most of the people that you see go to the medical examiner's office from fentanyl are between the ages of 18 and 45. When I go into work, and I work there 3 days a week, and I travel the other days to other cities to make them think about this. This is very important. This drug is no joke. It will kill you that quick. I know the fire department, I know that the police department are trained, very well trained, and by the way, your police department here and your fire department here are awesome, great people. And I just want to try to stop it. So I traveled all over the state, talked to many city council mayors. They need to put it in their budget to pay for the Narcan. I know it's for free, but the city has to still pay for it. It's an important thing. People need to wake up. It's a drug that's everywhere. I'm tired of seeing it when I go into the ME's office. It's not good, and I appreciate you too, because you're a drug and alcohol counselor, and I know that you do things for parole and probation. Thank you for your service, and thank you to the chief and all these wonderful cops and the fire department. And Mayor, I know there's a liability involved when you use this medication to try to save somebody's life. I understand that, but a life saved is one that doesn't end up at the medical examiner's office, and I superly appreciate it if you can consider Parks and Recs and Public Works. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That is a good idea.
It has to go beyond that, though. You can save their life, but then they usually do it again.
Did anyone else wish to speak on public comment? And there isn't anyone online, so.
All right, very good. Next, we're going to the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District. Item 4, please.
Okay, item 4, discussion and direction regarding a request from Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District property owners for assessment rebates and future assessment rates and reserve fund balances. And our excuse me, our presenter is Chris Lewis, Senior Management Analyst. And I do have a few speakers, too.
Good evening, Chair and members of the board. I do have a presentation. It's coming up now. Okay, great. This presentation is a follow-up to the May 7th meeting, during which the board directed staff to research the process to issue assessment rebates to certain property owners in PVMMD. Now, this directive was in response to some concerns raised by several property owners in Area K who believe that they have been disproportionately assessed compared to property owners in areas L and I. And for just a little bit of context, this is a 2011 map of PVMMD. Area K is the middle section with all the subdivided lots there. This was the original development in the district, and they began paying assessments in fiscal year 2011-2012. Not all at once, of course. It took several years for the development to be fully built out, but 2011 was the first year assessments were collected from these parcels. Area L is in the lower right-hand corner where the Paradise 360 community is currently located. Assessments were first collected from this community in fiscal year 2018-19. And Area I is in the upper left-hand section there, where the new extension for the Paradise Valley Estates Retirement Community was just built, and assessments were first collected from this community in fiscal year 22-23. Now, due to the timing of when these two smaller communities were built out, the majority of the district's current $1.6 million reserve fund balance was primarily funded by Area K property owners to date. Some Area K property owners believe that this reserve balance was collected at an accelerated rate, and they point to, refer to a statement made in the 2018 reserve fund study, which suggests that the target reserve amount of what was at that time $1.7 million would be achieved over a 40-year period if the district were to follow the estimates in the pro forma budget included with the 2010 engineers report as part of the formation documents. So that is the setup and the basis for today's presentation. In response to the property owners' concerns, excuse me, the board directed staff to research how and if these rebates could be made to address this issue. After consultation with the city attorney, was determined that issuing these rebates or refunds is actually not a feasible option because these rebates being requested do not meet the conditions under which rebates are authorized to be issued under state law. Division 17 of the Public Resources Code, which is the law that governs these GADs, do not include provisions to allow refunds in any other instance except upon the dissolution of the district. However, since the PVMMD assessments are placed on the annual property tax rolls through the county, the state laws, and more specifically the Revenue and Taxation Code that govern or would govern refund of property taxes would also govern these refunds to the assessments. So the Revenue and Taxation Code states that refunds shall only be made if assessments were either paid more than once, erroneously or illegally collected, or illegally assessed and or levied. And if any one of those conditions exists, then refunds should only be made within 4 years of when the assessments were actually paid. So even if one of these conditions were true, in the case of these PVMMD assessments, the refunds dating back to fiscal year 2011-12 as requested is beyond the time frame allowed. However, the city does assert that none of these conditions are actually true in the case of these PVMD assessments. All assessments were collected using the appropriate and correct processes and procedures. All parcels were assessed in accordance with the 2010 engineer's report up until it was revised in 2022, and then assessments were collected in accordance with that report. And all assessments were levied at or below the approved amount, the amount approved during the 2010 Proposition 218 balloting process to form the district. There is one notable exception. It is stated in the staff report that in 2018-19, the incorrect assessment rate was levied on 25 parcels in Area L, which is the lower right-hand community, Paradise 360 community. This is not directly related, to the Area K concerns, but it is mentioned as a matter just of fact and transparency in this report. One of the major pillars of concern for the Area K property owners is this statement right here on the screen from the 2018 Reserve Fund study regarding the 40-year time period and how it relates to the target reserve. First, I believe it's worth noting that until the 2018 Reserve Fund study was prepared, the district as a whole did not have any expressed, established, or recommended target reserve amount, nor were there any written policies or GAD laws to that effect up until 2018. So 2018 was the first time we actually had an expressed reserve amount for the district. It's also worth noting that at no point from the time the district was formed in 2010 to the present day has NGO, which is our geologic engineers for the district, at no time have they made recommendations for the time period during which the target reserve should be collected. So this statement made here that you see on the screen only indicates for demonstration purposes that the target reserve would have been achieved at the end of a 40-year period if the district had followed the estimates in the 2010 engineers report pro forma budget. This statement, as written, it does appear to imply that the 2010 report has set a reserve amount, and it also implies that it has set a time frame during which that reserve should be met. However, looking at the 2010 engineers report, neither of those statements are true. The report does not recommend or allude to or state anything about a target reserve. There is an example, there's an estimated annual district budget in Exhibit 3 of the 2010 engineers report, and there's a 10-year pro forma budget, just like this refers to, in Exhibit 4 of the 2010 engineers report. But pages 6 and 7 of that report state both that these exhibits were estimates only, and the annual budget was used to determine the initial maximum assessment rate at the time of formation. It goes on to explicitly state the estimates in Exhibit 3 do not represent, quote, do not represent the actual budget for any 1 year of the district's operation. Further, it states that the actual annual budget would be presented to and approved by the board each year, which has been happening since 2010. So just after reading the 2010 engineers report and considering the entire context in which this statement here was made, while it could have been written maybe a little bit differently, it was written to provide context only as to what was the current reserve at the time, which was $906,000, and what the target reserve was at that time, which is $1.7 million. And then my last statement and my last point about this statement is that it also, even as written, was not a recommendation. Again, as I stated earlier, it was not a recommendation to collect these reserves over a 40-year period. In fact, the next two paragraphs directly following this one in the 2018 Reserve Fund study NGO provides two options for the district's consideration. The first option being to continue continue collecting assessments at the existing rate, so at that max rate that we were collecting at the time. And we would achieve the target amount by approximately fiscal year 26-27. The second option for consideration was to reduce the assessment levies in fiscal year 2018-19, which is when this report was written, or any time thereafter, to allow the accumulation of reserves over a 40-year period. So I do understand how this statement could raise concerns for property owners, but after researching this issue and speaking with NGO to confirm, the intent of the statement was not to set a recommendation or set a time frame for this reserve. Up to present day, the annual budgets, the annual levies, they've all been recommended by staff and in coordination and in consultation with NGO, again, our district engineer, based on the professional opinions, the experience and technical expertise that our staff has in infrastructure engineering, construction, and geologic studies. And again, to reiterate, all budgets and assessments have been presented to and approved by the board each year in accordance with applicable laws. So the staff report does have more information and reference, background information for your reference, but I thought it would be a good idea to address this because this has come up in a couple public meetings, and I think it's a significant portion of the Area K property owners' concerns. But just to pivot back to the purpose of today's presentation regarding the rebate options, as mentioned, rebates at this time are not feasible, but staff has prepared two options regarding future assessment levies and the reserve fund balances for the board's consideration. Option number one, the first option is to continue to levy assessments to cover just the annual operations and maintenance only. So we've been doing that for the last couple years. So we would continue levying just for the O&M, and then we would maintain the recommended, which is updated in 2022 with the 2022 reserve fund study. The new recommended reserve amount is $1.57 million. Since the current reserve balance is about $1.63 million, the district would use $60,000 of that in fiscal year 26, but we would also adjust the levies, so that way we were just maintaining the recommended reserve amount in the reserve balance and only collecting for operations and maintenance. Option number two is to temporarily suspend assessment levies altogether. We would do that for either a specific period of time or until the reserve balance reached a certain level as specified by the board. And we would use portions of the reserve fund balance to fund operations and maintenance on an annual basis until the levies were reactivated or we would be collecting levies again. So just an item of note on option number two, though, if the reserves are used to fund operations and maintenance, the balance will drop below the recommended $1.57 million amount. Should a large-scale event occur and repair costs exceed whatever balance we have in the reserves at the time, the district would either not immediately be able to tend to those repair costs, and we would have to wait until the next year when we can collect more assessments and address those repairs, or the district could seek financial assistance in the form of a loan or a contribution from any private or public entity, and those details are outlined in the Public Resource Code as well as far as what the district can, and cannot do in terms of financial assistance. Of course, not listed on here is the board could direct us to do something else. That's always an option for the board. These are the two options that staff has prepared for you today. So based on this information, staff's recommendation is option number one because it would allow the district to maintain that recommended reserve amount and for us to adequately respond to any large-scale geologic events. This does conclude my presentation. I'm available for questions. We also have Eric Harrell and Haley Ralston, our principal engineers and project managers with NGO, available for questions as well.
Thank you. Very good presentation. I'm going to go ahead.
Thank you very much.
And take a public comment first.
Okay, first speaker, Rick Johnson, to be followed by Theda Peck.
On May 7th, 2024, the PVMMD board, good evening. I've spent the last 7 years of my life on this topic prior to Chris or Ryan being here, and I'm starting to run out of gas. On May 7th, 2024, the PVMD board, there was a motion approved to place our audit and rebate issue on the agenda, and Mayor Moy directed staff to provide a report on these matters. The ad hoc committee contacted Ryan to offer our assistance in preparing the staff report due to our in-depth involvement from the beginning since 2015. Ryan did not take up on this offer, so we did not participate. They spent approximately 25 hours constructing the report that you just heard, and we have 3 minutes to be able to identify the issues and concerns that we have. Very disproportionate. The staff report is almost exclusively identifying aspects of the reserve. The audit receives very little content. I didn't hear it at all in her presentation. That's what was presented. What was presented in the report is misleading. In reviewing the report, I found at least 11 incidences of significantly incorrect information, in some cases misleading, and in many instances mischaracterizations of the concerns of the property owners. My primary request to you tonight is to ask you to direct staff to meet with the ad hoc committee and to review their presentation and to resurface and discuss and address these significant issues. In the limited time I have tonight, I only have the ability to address a couple of details. The one that I wanted to address is that the staff cannot do a refund for two reasons. First, that the guidelines for GAD do not specifically provide a mechanism to provide a refund. The absence of a procedure giving direction on how to make a refund does not prevent the board from operating in the public interest. The public interest is the ultimate goal in the operation of the GAD. I have reviewed the Revenue and Tax Code 5096, which does provide refunds can be made in the assessments were erroneously or illegally collected, and Chris brought that up tonight also. So there are abilities for the monies to be refunded under circumstances. Additionally, Public Resources Code 26650 indicates that a district may levy and collect assessments pursuant to the expenses of a district. You can charge for the expenses. That means the expenses are what you're charging for. And we charged way more than that, and that's what we're looking for, is that way more money. We're not looking for the other two smaller groups of homes, the imbalance of that. That's nothing to do with what we want. We have been overcharged, and we would like to have that money back. There's ways of working the system, and there's ways of not working the system. There are laws that do support refunds, and there's laws or interpretations that do not. This is a situation where, in the public interest, you can take more action.
Time is up, Rick.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next is Theda, to be followed by Dr. Mark Carmody.
I've given her, the clerk, some bullet points of facts that I've determined from the spreadsheet. So please take a look at it. I'm surprised but appreciative at how much information was provided in the agenda report that illustrates how mismanaged this program was during its first 10 years. While Table 1 is provided as part of Attachment 6, the details relating to it are not discussed. Notably, the table shows that between 2011 and 2022, only 23% of the levies collected were expensed. By continuously collecting assessment fees in excess of expenses, you violate, which is 76%, you violated the California Constitution, Article 8D, Section 4A, which states no assessment shall be imposed on any parcel which exceeds the reasonable cost of proportionate special benefit conferred on that parcel. In addition, Table 2 and 3 both identify the discrepancies between the levies and the approved budgets and expenditures, further illustrating the program's lack of oversight and management. The Public Resource Code, Division 17, does not include the provisions to allow refunds except on dissolution. But it also does not state they are not allowed. The topic of refunds is unclear and therefore is left to the decision of the board on whether a refund is appropriate. Rick already mentioned about the tax code 5096. Your own report cites the basis in its tables of just how inappropriate and erroneously, and if not legally illegal, levy amounts were assessed. This report justifies authorizing a refund. In addition, RTC sections 5103 through 5105 provide alternatives such as settlement agreements for tax credits, corrections to the roll, or an order for a refund. By only providing two options, you again have disregarded the level of mismanagement, resulting in an overassessment at the detriment of the residents. I have no doubt that if any of you lived in this district, this issue would have been handled sooner, better, and we would be getting a refund. please vote no on both these options, and we need to go back to the table and come up with something better. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm afraid our golf people are gone because I live on a golf course, but I can't afford to pay for golf because all my money goes to the GAD assessment. A little humor there, a little humor. Okay, so you can't make
You
this.
must be getting assessed more than everybody else.
You can't. Yeah, and I've had lessons, Pam, like you, and I do well on the lessons, then everything goes to heck in a handbag after. Anyway, we got two options here, and I vote for option 3. Option 1, you even say it yourself, does not address the concerns of Area K. Boom, done, we're out. Forget that one. Option 2 applies to all residents. Again, that's a non-deal. We're trying to separate those that have contributed to the reserve and those that have not. So, and the thing about the audit, I still want to know, where is the money? Show me the money. Where is it? And again, I hope you don't vote tonight. I hope we go back to, I mean, you've worked hard. Thank you, Chris, but we need to maybe work on option 3. And it may not involve a refund. How about increasing some assessments, decreasing others to level that playing field? Thank you very much. I do have a conflict of interest with one of our board members. USC, I have a daughter, Stanford. I'm sorry. And her initials are Doris Penn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Did anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Okay, and there isn't anyone online, so.
All right. So I'm going to bring it back to us for discussion. Questions or discussion here? Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for the report, really concise way of getting down to it. So during your presentation, you mentioned that, and in the recommendations, you mentioned that the rebate is not feasible. My question is there a legal mechanism for issuing a rebate for this area? I mean, because by not feasible, are you saying it's not legally possible, or are you saying it's too difficult? I mean, like, what do you mean by it's not feasible?
I'm going to defer to the city attorney because the basis for that statement was based on the laws.
So by way of background, I don't want to claim credit for the legal opinion in this staff report, but basically the opinion from Robin Harris, one of our attorneys who's been a specialist for over 20 years in special assessment districts and things like GAD, is that because of the way that the assessments are collected as taxes, they are governed by the Revenue and Taxation Code. And that therefore, unless one of the 3 conditions as stated in the report exist, it would be unwise for the city to attempt to make refunds. And I say that in a specific way because I've now worked on this issue since I became city attorney in 2022, and I have tremendous respect for Mr. Johnson, Ms. Peck, and Dr. Carmody. I understand their position. They have a right to advocate for their position. We just disagree with them. That is not to say that I don't think that they've done their research, that they have a position, but my job as a city attorney is to advise the PVMMD board for the benefit of the entire board. So I'm not trying to get into an argument with them. All I'm saying is that our legal opinion is that a refund would be risky because of the way the Revenue and Taxation Code. And I'll finish by saying where I disagree with the advocates for a refund, they've said, and again, I'm not trying to get an argument, I think we just have to agree to disagree, because I've had very nice talks with Mr. Johnson over these 2 years, at least once I believe we talked, and he is a very smart man. And I'm not saying that I would be 100% correct, right? I give you the best legal advice I can. The argument that because the Geological Hazard Abatement District under the Public Resources Code does not allow a refund, that you could therefore give a refund, I find troubling. And mainly because there is a mechanism under the code to allow money to be returned. That's disillusion. the section that talks about dissolution very specifically says, if the board unanimously votes to dissolve and gets 50% of the members under GAD to agree to dissolution, then the board must return the money in the proportion that it was collected from the homeowners. That envisions a unanimous vote by this board and 50% of the votes. Not, and again, I'm not being snarky to the three that are here, not just 3 people. You would have to be 50% of the owners subject to the assessments. That, to me, legally tells me that the legislature thought through how we would want to return money collected by this board, and it's saying you need to all agree to it, and then you got to get 50% of the of the homeowners in proportion to their ownership to agree to give the money back. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm 100% right. That's the legal analysis of the city attorney on why a refund is not viable.
So it's not viable, it's not legal, is that what you're saying? It is not legal to provide the rebate?
That is our opinion. And
Okay.
because you're an attorney, I'll say that. As you know, I'm not the one who would ultimately say whether something's legal. Our opinion is it's not advisable.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So looking at Revenue and Taxation Code Section 5096 and 97 on the slide, tell me if I'm on the it's in the handout.
Oh, sorry.
So looking at those two revenue, that kind of summary of those sections, am I reading this correctly? If a refund, refunds can be made if it was erroneously collected within 4 years of payment. Would that be a proper kind of excerpt from that summary?
Yes.
Okay, so if a refund was erroneously collected within 4 years of payment, that this would allow for a rebate?
Yes.
Okay. So what about the applicability of this for payments within the last 4 years if they were erroneously collected based on this provision that we went through? In other words, they were collected in excess of what was projected for the reserve. Would that be an erroneous collection? Because this paragraph, I think it says that the money that was collected for the reserve would be estimated at 1.7 million over 40 years. To date, the balance is 1.5 million over how many years?
Approximately 14.
14. So is there a way to equate that to an erroneous collection? In other words, collections that have exceeded the projected balance for the reserve?
No, you're making, yes, that
Okay.
makes sense. So the short answer is yes, you could make that finding. That is a finding at the sound discretion of this board. And that is the position, I believe, argued by Mr. Johnson, Ms. Peck, and Dr. Carmody. It's a position that staff, in consultation with the city attorney, disagrees with. But you are the ultimate policy makers, and so if you were to make that finding, that's your finding.
That would be risky,
It's our opinion that that would be risky.
even though that's a correct
Not their opinion. Their opinion
kind
is
of
that we should
reading
do it.
of the Revenue and Taxation Code.
I'm sorry?
That would be, a rebate under those conditions would be risky under the reading of the Revenue and Taxation Code we just discussed?
I think at this point, I would be giving this board my legal assessment of why it would be risky, and I would prefer to go into closed session because it would be advice of potential litigation.
Okay, right.
So in
right,
an
sure.
abundance of caution, I would say if you
Sure.
want me to give you that advice, I would prefer we go into closed session.
Okay.
Because if I tell you here,
Right,
you have
understood.
advocates who are taking the opposite position, no offense to them, but I'd basically be telling them, here's how you
Understood.
fight it, if you
Right.
want to fight it. So I don't recommend that as your attorney.
Okay.
Yeah, but I could talk to you in closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah. Councilman Williams, anything? Nope. Tonneson? Anything? Nobody? Councilman Doug?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, it's in your hands. What are we gonna do here?
I would go with staff's recommendation on option 1 would be my suggestion.
And I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor, and this is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Okay, Councilmember Carr,
Option 1?
Councilmember Panduro,
Yes.
option 1.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye, we're voting on option 1, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaccaro?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bertani?
I vote for option 3, so no.
And Chair Moy?
Yes.
Okay, so 6-1.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to adjourn. I guess you have direction now because we've done that, okay? So I'm going to adjourn the PVMMD and reconvene the meeting of the City Council. And Madam Clerk, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. We've made it
Yes.
to the consent calendar.
All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the City Council or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item.
All right, do we have any public speakers on any?
No, I don't have any other
Sorry
speaker
about that, I'm
cards.
losing my voice here. All right, I'm gonna, anybody want to pull anything, or are we ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right, I'll entertain a motion then to approve.
So moved.
So moved, and a second. All in favor, wait a minute, we're gonna do roll call.
The second? Oh, Scott, okay. And I'll take roll. Councilmember Carr?
Here.
Councilmember Panduro?
Here.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Here.
Councilmember Vaccaro?
Here.
Councilmember Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bertani?
Here.
And Mayor Moy. So basically, you were voting yes.
Yes.
Not,
Yes.
not here.
Here's Ross.
Okay, thank
Here's your
you.
yeses.
That's okay.
Okay, here, what a present. Anyway, we now turn to new business. Sorry.
Okay, new
but-
business, item 16.
Yes.
Approve an order submitted to the voters of the City of Fairfield, Ordinance 2024-04, amending Chapter 10B, Business License Taxes of the Fairfield Municipal Code for modernization and simplification of the business license tax to be placed on the November 5th, 2024 ballot and adopt Resolution 2024-189. And our presenter is Savita Chaudhary, Assistant City Manager.
So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, before Ms. Chaudhary starts this presentation, I wanted to give you some guidelines because the passage of these resolutions and ordinances is a little different than what you normally do because these are ballot measures that you're considering. Before you on items 16 and 17 are a resolution and an ordinance. Now, normally you would do a first reading of an ordinance and then bring it back within 30 days for a second reading. But this is basically a resolution to place an ordinance on the ballot. So in essence, you're going to be approving the resolutions for items 16 and 17 today. You can do it in one motion. And for an abundance of caution, I'm going to ask you to read the entire resolution, and I can read it, and then someone can just make the motion. But it's the resolution at the bottom of the agenda pack of the staff report. You're going to make a motion to approve the resolution. The ordinance is already incorporated by reference into the resolution. So unlike most resolutions, there's no need to then separately approve the resolution, if that makes sense. And then to anticipate questions, there will be no second reading ever coming back because the second reading will be the ballot measure placed on the ballot, and the voters will decide if they want to pass the ordinance or not. Final thing is that by operation of law, adding something to for a vote on the ballot requires a 2/3 vote. So that's 5. So 4-3 will not cut it. You need 5 people, and I just bring that up because, just so you know. All right. Thank you for that.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and community members. So today I'm going to go over some of the background about the ballot measures and how we came about this process. So as we're well aware about our financial situation with the city, about 2 years ago, we identified that we have about $20 million deficit. We started looking at one-time measures. We looked at various strategies, and then we had various study sessions with council. As a result of all the effort from the staff, our fiscal year 25 deficit is now reduced from 20 million to 8.2 million. Our fiscal year 28 general fund reserve is going to be at about 14%, and it has been extended with a soft landing around fiscal year 30, where it goes down to 0%. And in fiscal year 31, all of our general funds will be, reserve will be depleted. Some of the expenditure reductions that staff has completed are around position freezes and discretionary expenditure cuts. We had reduced about 25 positions. That has resulted in a lot of cost savings for the organization. We also targeted about 5% expenditure reduction target. All departments went through various reductions. We passed on credit card fees to our consumers, and at the end, we were able to reduce our budget by about 3.77%. We were still short of about 1.23. So we started looking at this point, some of the revenue measures. Those are listed out there. So the first one was the fee study, where we came back to council. We conducted a comprehensive user fee study. The council approved 2 resolutions. The first one, 2024-111, was approved on the May 7th council meeting. There was an error identified with the police fees, so we came back, and that was approved on the July 2nd meeting. As a result, all of the fees went into effect last week on July 8th, and we now have an expected annual revenue increase of $800,000 from the fee increases. Now we're going to talk about the ballot measures, and this is where we are going to propose or consider that City Council consider that we place these 2 measures to adjust these taxes on the November 5th, 2024 ballot. The first one we're going to talk about is a business license, which is a modernization and simplification measure. As we all know, our business license structure was set up in last increase was in 1984. It is a very complicated 24-tier structure, difficult to administer. So as a result, we started looking at what are our options? What was the need for change? In the last 40 years, we have not changed our rates for the business licenses. Again, it's very complicated to manage. So staff is done some business license assessment study with a consultant, and then we reduced our 24 tiers into 12 tiers. These tiers are supposed to reduce 24 down to 12. It is going to create an equitable approach for our small businesses. It simplifies the oversight and compliance, as well as it helps us attract, retain, and encourage businesses for growth and job creation. As a result of these increases that are proposed, it will result into an additional revenue of about $1 million for the city. If we were to do just a CPI index increase in the last 40 years, the proposal that we have in front is still lower than what this normal CPI index would have been. And this was done on purpose so we can support our small businesses. The second measure we're talking about is the transient occupancy tax, which is Measure M. And this tax is paid these are the local taxes that are only paid by the visitors. They do not impact our Fairfield residents. And these are for the folks that stay in our hotels, they're visiting here. We did a comparison study with a lot of our neighboring cities. We are at par with most of the cities. City of Napa is looking at doing a measure increasing their business license, transient occupancy taxes as well. This tax was established in 1965. The current 10% rate, again, was adjusted 40 years ago in 1984. So we are proposing 2% increase, which will result into additional $600,000 of revenue for the city. So why do these measures are important? They require a voter approval at 50% plus one to pass. These will all be serving our local infrastructure and services. They will be locally controlled. Fiscal accountability will be considered. State cannot take these funds away from the city, as well as the public disclosure of all spending and annual audits will be provided at the annual financial audits. The end result is going to be the fee study. We're expecting about 800,000, business license tax $1 million, and again, the transit occupancy tax 600,000. Both measure M and L will require voter approval. As if these measures were to pass, then we will be able to extend our general fund reserve deficit from fiscal year 28 to fiscal year 31. Kind of the proverb we have been using is it's sort of like a soft landing, so we can extend our use of the budget to about 3 more years. We have also created a web page on our website to educate our community members about these measures, why they're critical, what has staff done so far. There's also an email address created. There's a phone number. There will also be, there is a brochure that's actually sitting outside. This mailer is going to our Fairfield residents. In addition to the mailer, there's also a frequently asked questions as well as a flyer that went out. And after this, I'm open for any questions.
All right. We're going to go ahead and we have, and nobody's online I see either. All right. So then I want to hear from you guys. Don't have anything to say?
No comments?
All right, then I'll entertain them. Oh,
Sorry,
go ahead. I'm sorry,
I just had a quick
Councilwoman.
question, just more language. On page 15, where it has like the different categories that the money could be used for, what else could it be used for? Is it just for these different pockets? Or is there other pockets or other areas that it could be used for that are not listed?
Yeah, they're general fund monies.
Oh, okay. So aside from that, it would go into the general fund?
Correct.
Okay, and then with regards to the mailers and stuff, I just want to make sure that we are doing it in the different languages and reaching out to the different parts of the community.
I will have to confirm that for you. I do know we were looking at Spanish version, but I'm not sure if that went out.
Okay.
I can follow up.
Thank you.
Now I'll entertain a motion on this.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
So I'm going to read the resolution that needs, and the motion that needs to be made as to this resolution. I want to check with our clerk first. Karen, did you read item 16 and 17, or just 16?
I wrote them separate. I mean, I did them separately.
But have you read 17 yet?
Oh, no, not
Okay, so we'll do 16 first.
Yes.
Then we'll take 17, but I think Savita's presentation was for both.
Was for both,
Yeah.
that's correct.
So what the council's being asked to make is a motion on item 16, which is Resolution 2024-189. And with your permission, I'll just read the whole thing. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving and ordering the submission of to the qualified electors of the City of Fairfield a ballot measure to amend Chapter 10B of the Fairfield Municipal Code to modernize and simplify the business license tax at the general election to be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, directing that the city attorney prepare an impartial analysis and providing for arguments and rebuttals related to the measure. And this resolution incorporates by reference ordinance 2024-04, which shall be submitted to the voters.
I'll make that motion.
All right. A second, and then we'll do a roll call. Please vote.
Yes. And then just say yes if you're voting yes.
Or here.
Councilmember Carr?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaccaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bertani?
Yes.
And Mayor Moy?
Yes. And so.
It's 7-0.
Okay, and since that was a presentation for both, we'll go ahead and move on to 17. Are there any public comments on this?
No, but I do need to read the
Right.
Okay. Approve an order submitted to the voters of the City of Fairfield, Ordinance 2024-05, amending Chapter 8, Article 3, Transient Occupancy Tax of the Fairfield Municipal Code to increase the transient occupancy tax, TOT, from 10% to 12% to be placed on the November 5th, 2024 ballot and adopt Resolution 2024-190. And again, our presenter is our Assistant City Manager, Savita.
All right.
I'll make
and,
that motion.
So, Mr. City Attorney, could you read that?
And we did no comments, no public
No
comments?
comments?
No, did anyone wish to speak on it? I don't have any comments, and there's one person online, but no hands raised.
So, Madam Mayor, this would be Resolution 2024-190, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving and ordering the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Fairfield a ballot measure to amend Fairfield Municipal Code Section 18.13A to increase the transient occupancy tax known as the TOT rate by 2% at the general election to be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, directing that the city attorney prepare an impartial analysis and providing for arguments and rebuttals related to the measure and incorporating by reference Ordinance 2024-05, which will be submitted to the voters.
All right, so we've
So
got a
moved.
motion from Councilman Tonneson, second from Councilwoman Panduro, and it'll be a roll call again.
Councilmember Carr?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaccaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bertani?
Yes.
And Mayor Moy.
Yes. All righty then. So now we're going to move on to public hearings. And this is for, was item 18 pulled? Yes. Oh, so we're moving on to item 19.
Okay, item 19. Second reading of ordinance 2024-03 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield authorizing an amendment to the contract between the City of Fairfield and the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System, CalPERS, and our presenter is Farbode Peruzman, our HR Director.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. A quick presentation in the sense that I think you would kill me if I redid the presentation I did for you last time. So yeah, exactly. So it's just because we needed an ordinance to change amend the contract with CalPERS, and as you know, ordinances have two readings, so this is just the second reading of the ordinance you had already heard about.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on that then. You have any public speakers?
No.
Nobody online?
One person online, but no hands are raised.
All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-03.
Goes to vote.
Okay, moved by the vice mayor and seconded by, we got Councilman Doug there. And we will go ahead and again do
Roll
the
call.
roll call.
Councilmember Carr?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaccaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bertani?
Yes.
And Mayor Moy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to item 20. And I said yes for this.
Okay.
and-
Public hearing and resolution 2024-193 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving, sustaining, or denying overruling the appeal of the revocation of business license number 2400256 for Field Gift Shop located at 1312 West Texas Street, Fairfield, California 94533, pursuant to Chapter 10, Section 10B 33 of the Fairfield Municipal Code. And our presenter is Jeremy Prophet, Police Services Manager.
We're not going to hear
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Tonight, we were supposed to have a hearing for a business license revocation. I was contacted yesterday afternoon by Mr. Mohammed, who I do not see in the audience, that he would wish to withdraw his appeal. He would no longer like to appeal and receive his license back. I had staff follow up and try to clarify that. He again repeated that he wished to not have a hearing tonight, and I received a copy via email for evidence to also state he wished to withdraw his appeal tonight, so he no longer would like to have this hearing.
Okay, given that, then we'll go ahead and end the meeting.
Well,
We open the public hearing anyway?
Madam Mayor, you have a number, I'm sorry, you have a number of options at this point. What I would recommend we do is first have Mr. Prophet submit the email he received from Mr. Ahmed and
Okay.
have it marked as evidence for the minutes.
Okay.
Is Hamza Ahmed present? And the record should reflect that no one has answered up. Madam Mayor, at this point, you can either conduct the hearing without him and make a finding to either approve and sustain or deny and overrule the appeal, or you can drop it based on the evidence that Mr. Prophet has submitted that Mr. Ahmed no longer wants to have the hearing, in which case the matter would be dropped, which effectively would kill the appeal.
I'm going to drop the hearing, given what Mr. Prophet has given us and the advice of our city attorney. And given that, I'm going to go ahead and close this meeting, but in honor of Vacaville officer and Fairfield native, Matthew Bowman, and also Vacaville Fire Department employee, Bryden, I don't know if I'm saying the last name right, Nadasti, and we pray and honor their families and everybody in the first responder community. And we're saddened by this, and we honor them again tonight by closing in their name. Thank you.
Good night, Rick.
Good night, Rick.
Right.
Good night, Rick.
Thanks.